Okay guys, so this video is to remind us of the Pythagorean theorem and introduce the distance formula, which is derived from the Pythagorean theorem. So just a quick reminder of what the Pythagorean theorem says. The Pythagorean theorem says if you have a right triangle, and this is only for right triangles, then we know that a squared plus b squared has to equal c squared, where a and b are the legs of the right triangle, the two sides that form the right angle, and then C is the longest side of the triangle, the hypotenuse, the side opposite of the right angle. So there's two different types of problems that you could be asked to solve. The first would be like the first one, where we know A and we know B, we know the two legs, and what we don't know is C. So we would set up our equation, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know I can use this because the right angle in the triangle. And so 9 squared plus 11 squared equals c squared. 81 plus 121 equals c squared. And then that would give me 202 equals c squared. Now, to solve for c, I still need to take the square root of both sides. And if I do that, I get that c is equal to the square root of 202. So sometimes they'll just leave their answer in that form. Or they'll take the square root of 202 to get that c, rounded to the nearest tenth, is 14.1. Another type of problem we could get is like the one down here. So the one down here, we know A, but we don't know B, and we know C. So if we set up Pythagorean theorem, we're going to fill in A. We don't know B, but we do know C. So we're going to fill in what we do know. So that gives me 144 plus B squared equals 196. I'm going to subtract 144 from both sides to give me b squared equals 196 minus 144 is 52. And then I'm going to square root both sides to see that b is equal to the square root of 52, which is 7.2. So those are the two different types of problems that you could solve. One where you have to solve for the hypotenuse and one where you have to solve for the leg. Gives me, if they give you a distance formula problem, they're asking for the distance between 2 points. Now, if you're lucky enough to be given a graph, so if you can actually see the graph in front of you, all you would really need to do is make a right triangle between the 2 points. Because essentially, the hypotenuse is what you're trying to solve for. So we could count A as being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, and B as being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. And then we can just simply set up Pythagorean theorem by doing A squared, so 6 squared, plus B squared equals c squared. So that's 36 plus 49 equals c squared. 36 plus 49 is 85. And then we'll take the square root to find out that the distance between the 2 points is 9.2 units. So we won't always be given the graph when we're doing this though. Sometimes we'll just be given 2 points. In that case, we essentially want to apply Pythagorean theorem to find the distance. And that's what this formula over here does. By subtracting x2 minus x1, by subtracting the two x coordinates, over here if I had done that, I would have subtracted the x coordinates and I would essentially have found the x distance, 6. So this subtracting x2 minus x1 essentially gives me A. Same thing here, if I had subtracted my y coordinates, that would have essentially given me B. So I essentially have A squared plus B squared, which I take the square root of to find my distance, to find the hypotenuse. So if I look at this problem here, I'm going to think of this as x1, y1, x2, y2. So to find the distance between the 2 points, I need to take the square root of a squared plus b squared. To find a squared, I do x2, which is -7, minus x1, which is -2. That gives me a. And then if I do y2 minus y1, that essentially gives me b. So my first leg is -5 squared. My second leg is -10 squared. So this is equal to the square root of 25 plus 100. So the square root of 125. And the square root of 125 is 11.2. So the distance formula essentially allows us to do Pythagorean theorem when we're not given a graph.